Tell me what you make of the results on Tuesday, and if you have any, I know you don't look back very much, but do you wish you'd stayed in the ring? Was this election result different than what you thought it might have been when you decided to retire?
Well, let me first off say the wishing side of things. I want to be very clear. I got drawn out of my district by Democrats in Illinois. They drew me out. Now, that said, I'm not sure I was going to run again anyway. I've been in Congress for 12 years. And that's a long time. And I really am passionate about focusing on this fight broader, more nationwide, because when you're in the House, you're just dealing with, every day the messaging votes and all this kind of stuff. Now, in terms of the results, though, it was fantastic. I mean, we all expected, I'll say I'm guilty of this. I expected as we got closer to the election, there were a few smarter people than me out there, this was going to be a red wave, just, history and everything else. But I think the January 6th committee, even if people don't vote on that issue, it kind of popped the bubble, so to speak. So people started feeling a little uneasy. I think the Paul Pelosi attack, and I think the Dobbs decision and some other things, and Gen Z turned out, and we had a little bit of a defensive democracy. That's just the beginning.
You just said a national role in the fight for the things you've been fighting for, including democracy. What does that mean?
Well, it doesn't necessarily mean a run for the presidency. It means, look, when you're in the House and you have to take these kind of messaging votes every day, all day, both sides are trying to get each other on something, and then you're busy, obviously, fundraising for your own reelection. The day-to-day in Congress, it's hard to, for instance, go travel for people. It's hard to go out and give speeches when, of groups that want to get together. And so I have Country First, which is country1st.com. We have 50 state chapters. We supported actually a lot of Democrats in this midterm race. And so I'm looking forward to looking at this and saying to the American people, let's get out of our minds of like liberal conservative.
Yeah.
And what do we need to solve problems? Something new has got to work.
Well, and I think you have the best record in terms of the candidates you endorse. There were a lot of Secretary of State candidates. Do you think like a democracy scorecard, the way some other groups used to score candidates, is a way to innovate on the results of these midterms?
Yeah, I think it's possible. I think, the bottom line is we have to think differently in how to defend democracy than we have. So I've talked about an uncomfortable alliance, okay? So Republicans and Democrats, you might have to actually be friends for a little bit to defend democracy here. Doesn't mean you have to agree on everything. But let's think outside of the box. Secretary of State races, those were the front lines and will be the front lines in defending democracy in 2024. Every candidate I endorsed won. I think only one of Donald Trump's he endorsed won. We worked on the Madison Cawthorn race and other races in convincing Democrats to say, look, you live in a Republican district. If it's one of those that's ruby red, you should vote in the Republican primary and vote at least for somebody that believes in democracy. And we turned out 4,000 or 5,000 people in that race. So that's, I think, how we have to think, Nicole, is just outside of the let's raise a bajillion dollars and spend it all. That's important. But what are the areas we can target that'll make a rifle shot difference?
It's clear that Trump crossed lines for you and Liz Cheney. For me, he crossed those lines way before he ever became president. But I was always happy to see more members of my old party feel that he had crossed those lines and then fight vigorously alongside Democrats to protect them. Why do you think more people don't feel that he crossed their red lines in the Republican Party?
Part of it's tribalism, right? The second, if one of them says, look, I've had enough with Donald Trump, you get kicked out of your tribe. And then I got to tell you, the other tribe, to the extent it exists, the anti-Trumpers, the Democrats, I'm not going to accept you because, you're coming on too late. Or maybe you still have this one issue I disagree with. I think the other thing, though, is you can convince yourself on a moral perspective that you're doing the right thing. You can convince yourself of anything. Everybody thinks they're the good guy. And so you can convince yourself that I have to run again. I have to support Donald Trump so I survive because somebody worse would come after me. And the other thing is just, I think it's sheer cowardice. Look, when I got elected, I remember I'd just gotten out of Iraq. This was 2009. I got elected in 2010. And I remember thinking, if I'm going to ask people to be willing to die for this country, and obviously I'm going to have to take votes on that, and I have, I have to be willing to give up my career for the same cause. Now, that sounds innovative, but it's so true. You know, we swear an oath to the Constitution, not because what we're going to do is easy, and not because I have to take a poll every time I vote on things like, should Donald Trump be impeached, and what does my district say? It's because my oath is not to my district. It's to the Constitution. And sometimes that's going to be hard. And everybody forgets that, unfortunately.
Including Kevin McCarthy. Liz Cheney seemed to have a special hatred of how he has betrayed his oath. Do you share that?
Oh, I got to tell you, Kevin is the biggest disappointment probably of any friend I've ever had. He was a friend. You know, before the election, I started to notice he was defending Donald Trump more than he was defending his own members of Congress. But he is the guy. He is the entire reason Donald Trump is still a political figure. Because in the caucus, in the Republican caucus, after January 6th, there were some of us speaking out. There was a lot of crickets, people trying to figure out where was this going to go. And the second Kevin McCarthy, in his cowardice, showed up to Mar-a-Lago, it changed the tenor in the caucus to like, I guess we're doing this, Donald Trump staying. Kevin McCarthy is a coward. If he becomes speaker, it will be the worst time of his life, and history will not be kind to him. What
do you think the intervening event was between what he said to you all on the tapes that we've all heard now, that for McCarthy, impeachment wasn't fast enough? He was an advocate of the 25th Amendment because it would go faster, we'd be rid of him faster. And then, as you said, he single-handedly revives Trump.
You know, but it's all money. I mean, he'll even say it was money, because we all of a sudden see I say we, so the 10 of us that voted for impeachment, we've all kind of made our little group, right? And somebody sent a picture of him at Mar-a-Lago the second this thing popped, and we're like, what is he doing? And of course, immediately there was a fundraising thing up. And I think all it came down to is it's about raising money, and he always wants to become speaker. Well, great. You may get the title, Kevin. Congratulations. It's going to be miserable, and history is not going to judge you well.
How hostage do you think he will be to Marjorie Taylor Greene and Matt Gaetz and those folks? What will that look like? He's going to be completely hostage. So first off, Marjorie Taylor Greene recently said that she's all in with Kevin McCarthy. Listen, she doesn't say something unless she's been promised something. Matt Gaetz is against Marjorie Taylor Greene because he wants to be more famous than her, and she's kind of stealing his thunder. If he wins, if he gets to 218, because we don't know what the majority is going to be, it's likely there will be a Republican majority. Any one of those people, you know, a couple, two or three, can deny him the 218 votes he needs. And so he's going to be walking around making deals with everybody, cutting every deal he can with the crazies. I call it the Freedom Club. Now, the question, Nicole, is going to be the moderates who are left. I don't even know who they are anymore. I don't know what they believe. Are they willing to say, hey, Kevin, this has gone too far, and we will vote against you if you acquiesce to whatever this demand is? Now, truthfully, as moderates, we generally wanted to get along. We wanted to govern. So it's a lot harder for them to do it. The Freedom Club just wants to burn it all down. Did the committee, did you and Liz have a back channel to Mitch McConnell? He seemed pretty intent on trying to give the committee's work some space. No, I mean, I can't speak for Liz. I didn't. But I think, you know, Mitch McConnell, on the one hand, he could have put Donald Trump to rest, right? He could have voted to remove Donald Trump. And I think we would have gotten the majority to get him out of there, 67 votes. But I think he's made it clear otherwise. Like, look, this committee's going. We need to find out what we can find out. And he's, to Mitch McConnell's best way he can do it and who he is, he's stood up and said, you know, there's a lot of concerning stuff here. But no, I personally didn't have a back channel. Whether Liz speaks to him a lot or not, I don't know. I want to turn to some of the committee's work and your work on the committee. You guys got him. You had him. You tied him to the violence. You revealed in I called it, you know, 3 towers, you know, witness after witness after witness after witness after witness that testified to his knowledge that he'd been defeated on election night. Witness after witness after witness after witness that testified to his knowledge that the fake electors plot was illegal. Witness after witness after witness after witness that testified to his specific knowledge of the insurrectionists being armed, being dangerous, and his wanting to be there. What should DOJ do with all that evidence? Oh, look, I mean, so from the committee perspective, the difficulty we always had is
we have a limited time. We could probably investigate this for 2 more years. And it's like, what's kind of the end state of what the committee does? I think, in my personal opinion, going into the hearings even, I was nervous. What is this? Are people going to listen? Do they care? We blew away my own expectations. And I think we've told the story, which is Donald Trump is responsible. And not just for the day of January 6th. That's a minor point. All the stuff leading up to it and the fact that nothing has changed since. And he didn't just sit in his office for 187 minutes on the 6th. He intentionally resisted pressure to stop it. So what can we do? We're going to probably look at criminal referrals, even though I'll be very clear those are pointless. But I think it sends an important message if we do them. We'll have the report coming out. But DOJ now, they have the torch. DOJ and the American people. So the American people, vote for people that actually honor their oath, okay? That's now what we're going to give you. That's your charge. The DOJ, they have more time, more tools, and they can enforce more things than we could. And I'm fairly certain, not from anything I know specifically, but I'm fairly certain they're gonna find some stuff, whether it's this, whether Georgia has something, or whether it's down with the secret documents that he didn't have, but he did.